Okay, today we have another revision of a theory that I kind of described yesterday a little bit, but today I want to look a little bit at the practicality, and it's again big. So we look at the whole project life cycle, even with the kind of conception phase. So it's enormous run again. So if you talk about a lot, you compromise by the narrative, the kind of detail, of course. So in this talk, again, I have to apologize for missing out on the exciting and wonderful detail that we will study afterwards, but it's an overview. We have a look and start asking some really big questions. And we do so with the wonderful topic of project process, success, and stakeholders. But the stakeholders is today really just a starting point. So we have a fully committed lecture actually next week where we start with our individual topics, where we have a very close look as well at the stakeholders, who they are, and if yes, how many. This is my favorite question actually, but that will be making a lot more sense next session. So today, kind of another overview. The reading is kind of still the same. It's already, right?
No, it's nothing on Blackboard.
No, nothing.
Upgrade and sustain.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Actually, nothing in this version.
All sustainable.
At the moment, okay, wait a minute. So let's stop everything. Let's pause this. So back to our wonderful topics. So again, slides and as well additional reading materials available. So I have always a package where I have the suggested readings and give you normally a few questions, or if even we call them DL papers. It's basically a paper written with questions for you to evaluate kind of what we have covered. So that it's hooked as well into your mental model of project management. Today we will look at success primarily. Again, there are different books. So be careful. In Harvey Mailer, it's actually spread a few across a few chapters. So you have to kind of look for the project success and stakeholder sections. But the more directed reading is kind of Darren Dacher. He wrote an upgrade actually. It's written on software project success, but he comes up with a very decent conceptual model. You have the case of software development and IT projects. But the conceptual frame is actually really, really good. Coke Davis has as well written about it in the Wiley Guide of Project, Program, and Portfolio Management. Again, this is the old one. There is a 2016 one coming, but again, this is we don't have it in the library yet, so this is a promise. And the other, it's another chapter of the same book actually. It's managing project stakeholders, and it's a critique, so it's quite an interesting spin to it. Okay. So that is suggested reading if you are keen on the topic. Today I want to cover a little bit the definitions and why we define it this way. And this is projects. Have you ever wondered why we do projects? What did we do before we did projects? This is a big question. And then from there we will take off with this hopefully comprehensive insight into the nature of what we're doing, into the project success. What does actually success mean? And there are philosophic chestnuts that I will hint you towards, but it's really learning from failure. That is quite something. In some countries, we really don't like the term failure. So there's a hidden warning sign already, but I will justify it on the basis of the temporality. So that we do something, does that make sense? I define it actually. Temporality of success and happiness. And if you have understood that, then you will be one of the best project managers in the world. If you have a grasp understanding, then it's already very good. So there's no total claim. And then we look as well a little bit at stakeholder satisfaction. Why do they matter? This is a big question as well. Because we are bulking here on, right? As project manager, we have to know more and more. So at some point, we have to be as well critical. Why do we have to do this? Or why do we have to know this? Okay. So the project context, discovery and projection, or getting what you want, The curious case of projections is an interesting one. It comes really initially from the definition. Well, if you like current literature, you may escape it. But in the past, a projectile was kind of what you may know from a gun being fired out. It's a removedness, yeah, to hit a goal, a target. Yeah, and it was a recognition that you have to do so to achieve a greater aim that in the normal way of doing things would be very difficult to achieve. Now this is a big claim, a big statement, but actually if you read a lot of books, they kind of start with definitions of projects. Some are very heroic and nostalgic. They go for Egyptian pyramids and things like that. I'm not sure that they collected the data there at the time, but so that there are some vast claims. But with this, we come really to the notion that underlines our profession. Hello, yeah, join us. So the projection is basically a process, and it has been specifically designed. Yeah. So all our project management discipline has that as a hidden assumption, as a limitation. Yeah. Don't run your children as projects. This will be soul destroying. Yeah. So all I'm saying, yeah. This is a deep insight to everything. So it's a process that we employ when we recognize that we are resource constrained. Now, with our normal activities, we would not be able to do it. This is when we are looking at the project, yeah, at the projection. Or we may recognize, actually in our normal delivery, we cannot achieve that. Yeah, that the time is too constrained. We have to accelerate what we are doing. We have to reconsider how we are doing it and doing it faster or accelerate it. Yeah? So it's designed for accelerated delivery. We are measuring for that. Yeah? Often we are rewarding our team on it. We are holding our contracts accountable to it. Our relationships are defined that way. And we have done another thing. We have a remote claim. Yeah? We say like, okay, there's a history. I know in the past the steam engine was kind of invented here in the UK, but it's not a problem. We have now a project. We can reinvent it everywhere and have everywhere a steam engine, and new steam engines and other engines and so forth. Yeah. So there is a recognition that we actually remove the spatial dimensions. Don't get me wrong. We perform our projects in spatial dimensions. But that is a flexible criteria. This is what you're measuring for. Yeah? So it's an independence from locality. Yeah, we remove it literally from societies, from geographical space. So this is a huge implication. Yeah? And then of course we make the, again, this is slightly, we have a moth or something, or a little fly. So okay, never mind. You will see a shadow flying through. This is just part of the presentation there. So we have as well a mechanism to make our desires happen. Yeah, you will see if you study anything like technologies or ambitions for society, you will see something really crazy happened in the last 100 years. We have just absolutely taken a lot of our dreams and wildest visions and tried to operationalize them. Yeah. So this is as well what projects are powerful delivery tools for. Yeah, making stuff happen. Yeah. So again, those are kind of the underlying assumptions on which all our tools are most likely streamlined on. Yeah. So some are more leaning towards one of those. Others are more leaning towards others. Yeah. So of course, or some have as well all aspects actually covered. Okay, this is quite heavy, and it's something worth thinking about. But let's move on from that. So again, my chestnut and I guess spin, I kind of raised it last time. When I was born, I came into Berlin up in an environment where I assumed that by now we would be space traveling, yeah? the galaxy. Not just actually the other way around. Not just our galaxy, but our own universe. Yeah? And this is kind of the plea. I assumed at a healthy age of 10, we would be exploring by now the universe and our planet. And when I say planet, I was thinking heroically kind of that we would be under the ocean and civilizing the whole planet and looking after our environmental systems. And of course, it would be all about understanding why we are here and what we are doing. But at the same time, and this is a recognition, so exploring the universe and our planet and our understanding why we forgot about our advancement from the past. This is actually why we are here now. You can see we are not doing the space exploration yet in full shift. So we are moving in that direction, but I will take you a little bit along that journey and have a look why this maybe happened, why we are not going that way. And there are a lot of mechanisms, so I don't look for direct answers, so there are as well some direct answers to that particular quest, but other ones. So what is a project? And this is a fight for definition. Yeah? So the traditional one, this is actually from the Association for Project Management in the UK, and it's kind of a professional body that you can join to. And when it comes to definitions, it's run via representatives of the members, but as well different stakeholder groups. So when you come to a definition like that, that has been a negotiation of different definitions. So a project in this particular case was a piece of work which is one of finite, so there's a limitation on resource, and has a beginning and an end. And that was a project for you. Yeah? So you had a fine definition, and this is now 18 years ago, right? Nearly 2 decades. And still a lot of projects are run by that. Yeah? I mentioned last time, last year, we had a meeting in North-South Africa where there was a conference. I don't know why it was really there for that reason, but we had a look at project management frameworks for developing countries, particularly if you go in remote areas and you try to establish a framework that is addressing the needs of the common project. Now that was of course a crazy brief because the reality was it's very diverse and contextuality and where you are matters a lot. But it was a recognition that we have actually this attempt of kind of grouping projects into one framework. Yeah. Now again, this was a past attempt. And managing a project meant at the time overall planning, control and coordination of a project from inception to completion aimed at meeting a client's requirement in order that the project will be completed on time within authorized costs and the required quality standards. And here we still have the quality standards again. And again, many projects are still run that way. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. Many of you are very likely to start in a project environment where this is a reality for you. Yeah? So you get basically given resources that you're measuring against. So this is your playground. If you can deliver it was fabulous. Show me when you need which resource. And then there's a timeline. Do it in this time. We have quality indicators. Okay, there's some standards, maybe in technical requirements. And then you may have as well some client-specific requirements that are captured up front. So you're delivering those, then you are a hero. And this is very true. But again, sadly, I have to say, largely, empirically speaking, this does not actually describe more than 40% of all projects happening at the moment. Again, those are grand claims. I'm not sure that they have done the statistics really holistically correct. It's a representation, of course, yeah, but it's largely outdated. Yeah. So if you are doing projects that way, then you are probably following a framework. You're not using the understanding and knowledge that you will gain in this course. Yeah. Okay, this is controversial, right? How can this be outdated? Well, it's just a little bit refined, really. It's not fully outdated, yeah. But it's the old chestnut that I had before with Morris, Pinto, and Soderlund. It was a recognition that we have a front end actually to the project, And we had that element already. So the time, budget, and scope should be as well part of your negotiation platform, which doesn't happen a lot. Yeah? But again, is required actually overall. So it means that normally somebody else, going back to this, so if it doesn't happen at the moment, there's a disconnect between the empiri that I've just said, like projects are run differently, but at the same time it's still a reality for a lot of you. Yeah? So how can that happen? Well, the reality is somebody else makes time, budget, and scope up basically based on previous expectations. And that is not necessarily a good thing, because we noticed as well, it's a unique delivery. So it's very likely that your project has a hidden element that makes it probably not too repetitive. Yeah? Otherwise, you don't really need a project manager. So the role of the project manager involves the management of the definition and delivery of the project of the stakeholder success in its contextual focus. Now that is quite difficult to take in. So I highlight the important part. You will be involved in the definition and delivery of the project for the stakeholder success. Yeah? What is stakeholder success? That is a very weird term, right? What do you think? If you are a stakeholder, what is success for you? Risky question at that point.
Achievement, what you achieve.
Achievement, yeah? Good outcome? Yeah?
Profit.
Yeah, hopefully better than what you expected, yeah? Exactly, yeah? Yeah?
Profit.
Maybe profit, exactly, yeah? So we notice already, success is diverse. Wasn't that diverse actually, it was the first two comments, but for example, return on investment, you actually diversify. So success has multiple facets, and we need to capture those to be actually aware of what we are competing against. Now initially that looks like more work, but I've seen many projects where it actually minimized the work because you didn't have to measure for the usual stuff. Yeah? So that can be as well an advantage. Now, to kind of bring the contextual focus in, we have kind of moved on from, and this is actually, if you look at the history of project management, we had a stakeholder engagement. It was kind of emphasizing that you would listen to the stakeholders, so this would be maybe local populations, you would write it down, and then you would go away and kind of say how you have addressed that. Now that still happens, but it's not how it should be done anymore. So we have learned a little bit. Now, Pettigrew and actually his colleagues, they have played around with that a lot. So context, they define it as inner and outer, and it looks quite profane, but in the outer context, the organization is positioned in a sector, in an economy, in a social system, in an environment, and so forth. This is what we are now taking a lot more serious. And we have noticed in the past that most of the failures relate directly to the outer context. Yeah? Now the internal context is still the same. It's a history and how the organizational shapers and respondents have interpreted, institutionalized their practice. So you as a project manager, if you start your own company and you have found a way of managing projects well, you have your kind of approach, and you write it down, and a new project manager gets recruited, and you tell them like, here, this is how we do projects. This is the history that I'm referring to. Yeah? This gets more tricky once you recruit a third person that comes again after a year of experience of your new guy and yourself, or girl, then you will see that they no longer refer to direct experience, they will take your norms that you have established at face value. Yeah? And that is actually implicit here. So the shaper was you, the respondent was the first person. Now, for the third person, they may just be a respondent unless they ask for change. Yeah? Now, this is quite heavy, but we will make a lot of more sense afterwards. Yeah? Okay, so this is how it manifested. This is why we have to think about the project definitions. So interaction with the business and general environment. We have a lot of actually front-end workshops as well on this to actually come to terms with that. Yeah. And then the definition is as well an interesting one. I read it out last time, but let's repeat it. The management of projects involves managing the definition and delivery of the project for stakeholder success. The focus is on the project in its context, project and program management and portfolio management, though this is less managerial, sit within the framework. So we have to become as well aware what a portfolio is to actually see how it impacts. We have to understand the program and understand maybe the relationships between the program level and our project, or if you run multiple projects, you may want to be actually very active as well on the program level. Yeah, particularly if you notice any shortages there. Yeah. Okay. Now, a word of warning. Different industries have come to terms with this. So there was actually a lot of, how would you say that? There was a divide actually in the project management discipline. They were kind of concerned that this is very good for some industries, not for others. But then actually the very industries had like other thoughts to that. So I go for the quotes. So this is a quote from the Construction Industry Council, and it was the president at the time, that kind of give me this. Traditionally, the project manager would deliver a project to the required specifications. In today's business environment, they have to do more. The dynamic nature of projects means that the business benefits are reappraised throughout its life, and the project manager must initiate any changes that may be required as part of that reappraisal. Yeah. So it's no longer you get kind of given and you deliver. Yeah. It may be the case, but this is not suitable for the business environment and economy that we have. Yeah. Now there's a longer one, and this is largely for entertainment, because if you're interested in the power that you have as a project manager, now then that is kind of the starting point. And if you want to understand the deepest art on an operational level, at organization level, you will have to face Machiavellian at some point. Now, for the operational side, as a project manager, it's the memoirs of Columbus. He was not a nice man. Read it through. He used symbolic misrepresentation. Yeah? So my favorite one, after 2 weeks, he kind of cancelled out the documents and said, we have only been on the water for 3 days, to build team morale. So there's a lot to be learned in those pieces of literature. But here's a snapshot of it. And we don't cover it in full extent in this module. Yeah, there's another module for this. But it gives you an idea of what the front end can look like and how it can play out for the project manager. So here from the MOD, it's a Ministry of Defense. I always imagine it's a Ministry of Magic. It makes it more appealing to me. Yeah, but okay, here it is. The project manager is responsible to direct and steer a project through the troubled waters of dishonest suppliers and contractors, with a changing climate of client requirements, under the cloud of nebulous company directives, and with a motley crew of questionable ability and propensity to rebel against any organization. Yeah? The project must arrive on schedule, using only the cash on board at the start, and resources must be carefully controlled, allowing for all unexpected problems. The project manager has this responsibility, with senior officers on board who justify their presence by ordering the crew without his knowledge, leaving him with only the authority that he can maintain through the strength of his personality, untiring efforts, and unbounded enthusiasm to the cause, knowing that should the project be wrecked due to the quicksands of changing authority, the company will without hesitation hold the project manager unquestionably and totally responsible. I hope you haven't experienced it as such, yeah. But this is deep, yeah. So read it again and maybe reflect on it. There's a deep insight to potential hierarchies and organizational orders, that you face, yeah. So the project, again, in its remoteness, has as well often interfaces with project-based organizations that may or may not challenge actually for control and power, yeah, and respective experience. Yeah. Okay, but it's not all that grim, luckily. So let's talk about something. So this was a warning sign. I hope you will not experience it in this refinedness and detail. But some elements of that are likely to be faced. So just be aware of that. So let's have a look at the project life cycle. This is kind of our delivery tool, our process that we actually manage. Yeah, so you have to as well understand as a project manager, although it's very fascinating being enthusiastic about the product, this is actually not what you are managing. Yeah? Often the role is focused on managing the project life cycle. Yeah? Now, to make it a little bit more entertaining and following my dream from the first claim, how dreams turn into reality, I thought we have a... Pardon? Oh, okay. We have a look at the space travel example. Now this is highly controversial. Yeah? I'm not sure that it works that way, but that was my assumption. Yeah? As a child, I was nurtured that way, yeah, and cultivated and believed this may be a case. Yeah. Now in the concept phase, again, we had that already. I don't want to really go too much through it. It's kind of about making the idea a little bit kind of more accessible. Yeah? So you have to talk a little bit more about the idea. This is really the conception phase. So maybe coming from stakeholders, but I don't really want to go too much into it. In the concept stage, you come up with amazing stuff. Yeah, it's normally drawn or a visual representation, sometimes symbolic representation. Yeah, there are many different ways of representing an idea. Yeah, and you will see nearly in all of the industries that you go into, maybe with the exception of service industry, you often start off with either visual representation, yeah, so a digital model, something. So you kind of create an image of your idea. Yeah, we can name anything. Yeah, normally a car is first developed as a design, building, any kind of material object, really. Yeah, and so can be a space suit. Yeah, for our space discovery. Yeah. And in service, you normally run a scenario before, if you're good. Yeah? So you kind of come to terms with what the actual delivery service would look like, yeah, what it would cover. Now again, this is a conception stage. You actually write it down. You may go for visual representation to enable the stakeholders and the client and other stakeholders to be able to comprehend the idea better. That is what we're doing in the conception. Now then we have the conception stage, and everybody thinks, like, yeah, this is a great spacesuit. Let's do this. Yeah, this is basically how it went. Then it comes to the feasibility stage, and here it gets a little bit more serious. Hey, do you know anybody that has done a spacesuit before? I have a friend, he does diving suits. It's roughly the same. And I have another friend, he works with aluminium foil. I think if we combine those, it's roughly a spacesuit. So you call the guys up and see what they can do. And then they come back with prices, and you are like, oh, we haven't asked. How much money do we have, actually? So you arrive at something, and it doesn't quite look as the new conception stage. But you have basically reinvented all the parts from the past, because this is what they have prices for. So, and then you notice, like, okay, this is really not fit for purpose. Yeah, so this is a spacesuit where you have to train for 4 years to move like a normal person. Yeah, so how do you want to put a normal person that travels into space to see the moon, put that on and jump back to Earth? Yeah, not likely to happen. Yeah, so actually you need as well 2 people to put the suit on, and it has a lot of gadgets, which was useful, so you have a good idea what may requirements look like, and you can challenge those. So they did this, of course, and then it comes to the definition stage, and here you are kind of looking, do we really need this stuff from the past? How can we make it fit for what we want? Now this is of course a space suit, for space travel, and it's for you and me. Yeah, so in the future, in 5 years, actually I said 2 years ago 5 years, I should really be careful, this is not happening in 5 years. So Virgin Galaxy claims in the next 3 years we are going to be sitting in their planes, kind of flying out of the stratosphere, having a look at the moon and looking nostalgic back at the planet Earth, and then re-entering into the Earth's atmosphere and landing and being very happy about it. Now this is basically their plan B. if the plane kind of crashes, then you are setting your goal on gravity. You put your spacesuit on and basically parachute back to Earth, right? So in case you don't want to take the plane. So yeah, that's basically the definition. And of course, they have challenged all the parts of the past and thought like, okay, how can we do it? So they had a few cool innovations, but it was actually at the time run by NASA, and they realized at the definition stage, actually, we have kind of run out of budget in the design stage. This was kind of bad. So then they were like, oh, how can we get somebody involved? Yeah, kind of the Red Bull guys, and kind of extreme sports. Why don't we make it an extreme sport event? Yeah, so that is kind of what they did. So they recruited, actually this is already the definition stage where they play around with prototype aspects of the spacesuit, and they kind of tested the undersuit and things like that. But again, part of the real definition was actually getting Red Bull on board, and they redefined it. And they prototyped already in the definition stage. They kind of went with the lighter version of the space suit actually out, and kind of parachuted out of I think helicopter first, and then out of a plane, and saw actually if the materials last. And they did. So they had kind of made the suit a lot lighter, and so that normal people like you and me can wear it. And it's actually now a soft shell, not a hard shell, if you're interested in this. Now then it comes to the execution phase, where the real thing is kind of questioned. So they went, of course, for spectacular delivery. So that they had like a balloon that went basically into the stratosphere, and then there was a wonderful moment where you could see that we were on the top layer of the stratosphere. And this is when this weird moment happened, where somebody had to say, okay, now he will go. And he said, I think jump, and then he basically made the step and just fell back to the planet. Just be aware as well, when you go for Virgin Galaxy, that is plan B. If the plane doesn't work, this is basically what you will do. So but never mind. So gravity worked fine, and he kind of fell like I think the description was like a brick, that kind of tumbled towards the planet Earth. And it worked well. This is actually a different picture, but still I wanted to show the stratosphere. It's quite high up. And of course in the execution, the parachute opened, and it was a huge success. The spacesuit had worked, and it was pretty good, and it was all live streamed. This is when you're very confident in your delivery. So streaming it live is not always a preferred choice of a project manager. Then there was a close-out party, so there were media, and then there were drinks and food, and party, celebrating the kind of close-out, and they knew as well what a good suit would look like, so they had data where they had to optimize, so there were some pressure points, but this is already detailed, So they were happy with the project, Now, that is really it, This is what you expected, and by this point we could kind of write our assessment. But of course there's a dark history, and I've already kind of hinted to it. It doesn't always go that way. So that is the first recognition. So the big question is, why do I've just moved, but this is my old house. So why do I live in something like this when I would like to live in something like that? How does it come? This has been designed and kind of built. I don't want to be too exact about this, but let's say this is like 100 years, 30 years ago, nobody looked at this design anymore. If you asked an architect, hey, shall we build something in this design? They were like, no, I'm an architect. I will give you a better design. And okay, so this is again a particular fashion, and was kind of in the last 10 years, maybe 15 years. But I like the idea, transparency, and it looks fabulous. I'm sure I would really enjoy living in there. Now this is not the only example. I don't just want to pick on the house that I'm living on. All I'm saying, Nissan down the road. This is the concept, and then this is what I was what was given to me as an available purchase item. So all I'm saying, that there's a difference. You may notice it. And then this is still one of the heartbreaking moments. So as an engineer, I don't understand why we set it. Yeah, for kind of, so we in the kind of 70s and 80s. Yeah, in Berlin there was actually it wasn't the French-British collaboration. It was actually the former Soviet Union version that landed in Berlin. Yeah, but anyway, the point was we had discovered travel with 2,400 kilometers per hour. This meant New York back. Yeah, 2 hours. Champagne, wonderful. Yeah. Now, how long do we fly? 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. This is already when you get the direct flight. Yeah. So something went wrong. Yeah. So all I'm saying, speed 2,400 kilometers. There was the issue with safety. I recognize that. Yeah. But this is where we put it. It's worse. So you come to, this is actually Paris. Yeah. I go there regularly for guest lectures. And they always remind me, this is what you could have traveled with, but no, you will have now a slower plane, and we will make it a lot more painful because we will search you, and you have to get rid of your belt. Yeah, you probably know the game. Yeah, it's a torture. Yeah? And actually in the UK we made it a little bit worse. We kind of shipped it into a museum, and we kind of run it past all the kind of iconic landscape of London. Yeah. So of course this is again a reminder for us. Like not always will we embrace the best solutions. So instead we fly now something, this is really just one brand. I could have picked any other kind of airline or kind of company that builds planes. So this is a Boeing for you. They can fly as well, actually kind of over supersonic, but this is ambiguous. You will be very unlikely to experience this unless you have very strong trade winds. So they kind of cruise along with 960. Normally, this is encouraged, depending on how adventurous your pilot is. You can empty it out and fly with something like 1,200 if you want to test the turbines. But again, that is not the common experience. Alternatively, the private version comes at the rate of £10,000, I think, for a day. Yes, it's not too bad, actually. So if you have enough friends, 100 friends squeezing in here to compete with EasyJet is hard, yeah. But it's all I'm saying. It's the similar cruising speed. You will be flying something like 1,100. It's not even half of the 2,400 from my Concorde example, yeah. All I'm saying, yeah. So what went wrong? Now this is a very old report, but sadly, this is the oldest I could find. But this is still true. It's, there's a general fear of embracing new technologies. So let's have a look. What did Mero actually say? This was actually a correspondent to the technology review of embracing new technologies. So they basically formulate in writing, the incorporation of new technology in a mega project almost ensures that the project will make more mistakes than money. The use of new technology is the only factor that is associated with bad results in all 3 dimensions: cost, growth, schedule slippage, and performance shortfall. So there was a great fear. So you were actually kind of disencouraged in projects to kind of push for new innovations. Yeah? And we still see this. I talked about virtual reality that we kind of embrace now, although we have been playing around with it for a long time. Big data, you name it, 60s. We have not really kind of gone the high road on the technology route. Now, when we actually search for success, this may not look like success, right? You are just restricting here your possibilities. So, yeah, the classical way of defining, or the initial step, is, of course, the self-evaluation. Have you ever tried? Have you ever failed? No matter, try again, fail better. That is already an iterative process. Yeah? And if you're lucky, you have here as well a learning loop actually in it, maybe even double learning loop if you try it a completely different way to cover the problem. Now, it's the recognition of smart failure. This is what we have embraced in projects in the last 5 years. You will see that everywhere. This came largely, it was a push from industry. There are many companies that have actually pushed in that direction. Silicon Valley is very famous for that. Yeah? So they give you their solution, and they want you, it's a little bit, it's not really nice, but they want you to discover the failure, and tell them, and they will make it better for you. Yeah, this is the idea. So smart failure is of course better than just failure, and it encourages you to try new things, to push the envelope. Now this is a very entertaining TED talk from Eddie actually. So yeah, you can have a look at this. Yeah? So it's a strong recommendation. It's in the bibliography as one of the links. Yeah? He actually has a whole theory behind that. He really encourages design thinking. Now what does that look like? In the past, we had a legitimate idea, and this is already the important thing. You will still hear that in politics. I was 6 weeks actually ago in London, and I saw a great entrepreneur coming from America, and he was asked like, how were you so successful? And he literally said that, well, we didn't go with the blue sky crazy stuff of ideas. We just made the stuff. And in my ears, that was just like, okay, so you're holding back all the potential that was there. But yeah, so this was the traditional way, legitimate idea from client and consultant. So this doesn't really mean from the user. Yeah, so the client was often a different person. Then raise resources, feasibility, and plan. And then do it, of course, team leader, designer, engineer, and then you ask somebody else to put it together, which is as well quite fascinating to me. Now we have swapped it. Yeah, so now we actually have gone to agile manufacturing. Has anybody come across that? Very big thing in China, yeah, as well in Malaysia. In Malaysia, I had a joint venture there and run around on the local market. They have adapted existing technologies into new stuff, and some stuff is really cool. Yeah, you wouldn't get that on another market except that local market because it was kind of a guy that combines those. So anyway, but the process behind it is do it, yeah, design and engineer it so it's actually working. Then raise. Well, this is actually a little bit a lie. At this point, you kind of present it to your customer, and if he buys it, you use the money to manufacture. Yeah. You raise resources, feasibility plan, market idea, marketing, produce to pull. Yeah. Now, what does that mean? This means you, if you buy that mobile, you are kind of incentivizing that project lifecycle. Yeah. And depending on your specifications that you want in your mobile or car or whatever, product, service, it will be adjusted accordingly. Yeah? So it's a very responsive, client-driven process. Now it gets as well rid of a lot of other elements that we normally measure for. Traditionally, we did something like that. Where are we time-wise? Okay, let's take a short break and we come back to the processes and then go in depth what it is, what it involves. Yeah. So we do 50 minutes again? Yeah? Okay. Super. 50 minutes back. Yeah? Okay. So I was promoting here a huge shift in the last 5 years where we have kind of embraced in the project environment basically an agile project lifecycle. Yeah? And it's the switch from legitimate idea, raising resources to doing it, to what you may have experienced in the wonderful spaghetti challenge. Do it, yeah, raise resources, market it, scale it. Yeah. This is the idea. Underlining with that, we have that in many industries already. So for example, in engineering, or as well technology enhancement and research and development, we do this already quite sophisticated. Or if you're doing a PhD, you're very likely to do a pilot study. Yeah? We don't like to crash stuff in the last moment, although I personally do like seeing the kind of reasons behind it often, because that is very big learning. But this is a little bit more refined. So this is actually a quite refined process that we run in science projects a lot. So there are requirements, needs, conditions to meet, stakeholders, measurements, maybe even contracts, and we like to we kind of like to make it clinical. We like to exclude all the other noise. So in scientific projects we have a different luxury, Then we have the architecture. So here it's about modeling a software. So architecture of the software components, externally visible properties of those components and the relationship between them. Then monolithic application. Yeah, so we just look at one. It's a client-server, maybe event-driven architecture or three-tier model. So there are different models that we are using. And then it comes to the design, problem solving, and planning for software solution. Yeah, so playing around with the data that we have. Again, this is too detailed already. I shouldn't even go into that. Then it comes to the implementing. So you're writing maybe the code or debugging and maintaining your source code, respectively. The model may work or not. This piece as well, algorithms, efficiency, reliability, and portability are affected. And then we come to testing. Now testing, this is basically kind of new if you compare it to the other project lifecycle. And after testing, and this may be cyclical until it works, we actually do the deployment. And in science, we often don't like to talk to the whole audience. So we like to go by statistics, but again, there are other forms. Yeah? So stakeholder management, we have to go beyond that and talk to the people as well. Yeah? Otherwise, we are not arriving at anything. Now, this was as well, of course, kind of, Scrum really comes from agile project management, which was kind of a process taken out of lean thinking. But nonetheless, the stress here of a Scrum flow model is basically you break it down in sprints. You have different times for completing an initial rough draft, and you basically test it every time, yeah, until you have a product that satisfies the client. Yeah. Now, in Scrum and Agile project management, you will see we have extra terminology. Yeah? We have even renamed and rebranded the project lifecycle. There's something like runs and wonderful things there. We'll introduce you when we come to processes actually later in the lecture series. Yeah, but the concept is basically we consistently try till we have actually a product that our client cannot say he is not happy with. Yeah? And those are new processes that are very, very important. Now, a big lesson to be learned is those processes come out of an admittance of failure. Yeah? Not seeing failure as something bad, but as a great teacher for learning, right? Okay, so but let's have a look what went wrong in our past project. So why did we actually arrive at this, first of all, having to reinvent the project lifecycle in that way? And second of all, why was failure such a bad thing? Yeah, why historically have we been traumatized so much by failure? Now, the counter side of success, is it failure? This is a big question. I'm actually not sure about that. Yeah, but is of course the question of success. So how dreams turn into reality. We have to return to execution and close out later, of course. But let's have a look at case studies actually. So in definition, in search of a definition of project success. So it's the other way around. So project success is the satisfaction of stakeholder needs and is measured by the success criteria as identified and agreed at the start of the project. Now this is a process. Yeah? So we can actually say we meet the stakeholders, we ask them, what are you satisfied by? Now this is a very painful question. Normally no stakeholder has that out of the hip ready to hand. So normally you do kind of a brainstorming exercise, what quality means to them, what maybe values, what values they actually attach to what they want. Yeah? What do they try to achieve? So you get a better idea. Yeah? It's communication, sense making. Yeah? And then eventually you can formulate criteria that try to address that. Yeah? So you try to build a framework to actually achieve their success. And the only people that can tell you if you got it right or wrong is actually your stakeholders, ironically. Yeah? So that is, of course, an extended conversation. Yeah? But again, this is what the Association of Project Management gave us in 2006. It's not bad, actually. And then, there was another one. So there's already an undertone. Yeah? So this is desired and sounds quite good. Yeah? So here we are believing in a predictive environment that we're actually able to do this. Yeah? And then there was an underline: success is getting what you want, happiness is liking what you get. Yeah. Now this is of course a little bit cynical, and we try to go beyond that, although it's quite self-conclusive. This, yeah. Nietzsche, again, it's not a reading for the. If you are looking for being cheered up, this is not a good reading. So success has always been a great liar, and we have to return. By the way, this I have this in my slides, and I have that even in my e-learning papers that I kind of wrote the last 5 years. But this is a new discovery. Yeah? So in the UK, we had the big success agenda of the Olympics. You may have heard of the Project Legacy. It was a big thing. And yeah, so they were all about success, and they were genuinely surprised that the Olympics, of course, were not a success. Yeah, I mean, I noticed there are a lot more cyclists, but when you look at their success criteria, they were completely, they were very ambiguous, to say the least. Yeah, and there's maybe a reason for that as well. Yeah, so we will come to that political representation and strategic misrepresentation, or some people call it lying. Yeah, but normally when you say you have been lying to somebody that did the feasibility study, you know, everybody gets angry with you. So generally, we have come up with the term strategic misrepresentation to make it sound a little bit more legitimate, and get home in one piece as well. That is the other side. So success and failure. Yeah, there was yeah, I mean, those are the famous ones. I think you have probably seen a lot of them already. I wanted just to stress that success and failure can be hung on different elements, really. So design was by Johan Utzon, won a Pritzker Architecture Prize. Actually, with this particular design, has built some remarkable, beautiful buildings on the Balearics. Yeah? So if you go for a holiday to Mallorca, not that I advocate that, but you will see his houses, and he hasn't built a lot. It's actually the opposite. After this project, he kind of got very depressed and didn't want to practice anymore. So there's a hidden personal story that is just heartbreaking. Yeah. Now this particular project is World Heritage. It's city symbol of a capital city. Yeah. And most of you will know it as the Sydney Opera House. So I have a few pictures. This is inside. Has anybody been there? My parents went there, and they said like, it's amazing, looks good, but acoustics are so la la. So the skeptical Germans. Yeah. So what can I say?
Been outside it, but not actually been in it.
Okay. And anybody inside? Acoustics? But it's spectacular. Yeah. Nonetheless. So okay, this is inside. Then outside, it's remarkable, right? That's really quite something. I mean, civil engineering, architecture-wise talking, yeah, this is quite something. Yeah. Now we had other ones. What is this? Yeah. Okay. I like. Yeah. So the Eurostar, and branded originally and built by TGV. Yeah. So a French train maker. They're very quick train. Yeah. It's one of the few. And where do you think the train comes out of? It's written on the side, the Eurostar. Does anybody know? Where? Yeah.
London to Paris.
Yeah, London to Paris.
Paris
Yeah.
to Brussels.
Paris to Is that an accent? I think it goes actually. It diverts, right? So you can.
I think.
Yeah, I think you have the.
Paris, London, London, Brussels, and Brussels, Paris.
Okay. Now there we go with informed data. Yeah, this is very good. So and why do you think I put this project up? Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't ask the question. Success or failure? Sorry, that was the main question actually. Success, yeah. So overall, this sounds pretty impressive, right? You would be delighted to have been involved with this project, right? Yeah, it wasn't quite that. So, but we come to that later. So, what about this one? Eurostar, traveling from Paris to London and Brussels, as we learned.
Failure breed exit.
Yeah, so failure. Okay, now with political incentives, more recent times, yeah. Okay, but so it's a tunnel, it's a train. What is the time? Does anybody know?
1 hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah,
I think.
one and a half. You will not make this with check-in through our current system with a plane. All I'm saying, yeah. I mean, maybe if you measure just stepping in the plane and then quickly flying off, then you have cards that compete quite fairly. Yeah, but otherwise you cannot compete that on travel speed and everything. Yeah, but again, different one. Now, has anybody enjoyed Scotland and Northern Ireland, and as well here in the Northeast, we had a trial. You could join the, you could do your tax online. Now, has anybody tried that out? And that was quite remarkable. As an academic, I had to do it, of course. Yeah? So you always go for the new option. It's compulsory. Yeah? Like, oh, look what they gave me. This is amazing.
And 3 months longer, I think.
Yes. In the end, it failed, and it asked me to print a PDF and send it by post. And in return, they wrote me after 2 days. The post office is very quick, yeah. They came back to me. We have to apologize. The process takes a little bit longer. We are not yet used to the system. We had to operationalize a few of the automated functions. Yeah, it took quite 3 months. Actually, it wasn't that bad for me. It was 2.5 months, but still, it was. And then in the end, they actually withdrew it again. So it's not an option anymore. Yeah. So I did the one-off. So I'm very proud. I'm not sure that proud is the right term. So there are hidden dimensions to this in terms of project success. Yeah, and you had already kind of seen the success overall. So 2 projects, they have certainly created a success after the lifespan of the project, right? But there were hidden stories to it, and you said already failure, particularly under the current regime. Yeah, this makes it very difficult. Yeah, but so there are some pricing, some money. Sydney Opera House, I should have really done it as well, respectively. Sydney Opera House was actually so demanding because it ran over the time frame for a very, very long time. Yeah, that was a real hidden element. Not to mention the budget increase. Yeah, so that is actually quite good. If you get that as a salary increase, I think people are generally not minded by that factor. Yeah, but if it's your budget that you have to pay for a product or service that you kind of want to have as a client, that is quite painful. Yeah. Thames Barrier was another one. I didn't have it in my example. The Channel Tunnel was the other prime example. Yeah, again, so kind of in total amount, what they actually put on top, that is one of the best ones for the time being. Yeah, so you have to kind of factor in the time when it was. City Opera City Opera House. Do you know when it was built? Started in the 60s. Thames Barrier. Longer time ago, yeah, kind of. Well, it was refurbished in the 40s. There was some construction already in the 20s, even in 1860s. There were already floating bars. So long tradition. Channel Tunnel, anybody? When? Yeah. 80s, 90s, completed 2000, right? Yeah. And then UK Inland Revenue, very recent. Yeah, so they even let me take part in this. Now the interesting thing is here, this was the initial budget. It's just the software, right? This was the final cost. This was the posting and everything. And of course, they kind of scrapped it, right? This was just, yeah. No. Then the Airbus, that was as well a project at some point. So was as well delayed, and they were a little bit smarter. So Airbus didn't publish basically the initial costing that they did, and then the final one. As well, the Boeing 777. You can see it's actually smaller than the Airbus, but a lot more expensive. Yeah, but they had some other trouble. And on long haul flights, if you're not going to popular destinations, you're very likely to sit in that one actually. Yeah. And I run a little bit around with the MOD, so you will see this. I have a lot of examples. Plane carriers without planes, submarines that kind of need a new paint after 1 week. Yeah, so we had there quite a few, and I can give you those case studies as well, kind of marginally. So it's not the refined details of the technical specifications, but the process dilemmas and the project dilemmas. We can study those quite all right. Yeah, okay, so this is kind of the hidden story between kind of successes or success perceived in the future, and we kind of come already to the dependencies of project success. Now, when we start looking at stakeholders, you kind of come to the notion of different people being involved. And this is very important for our seminar, if you want.
Excuse me, can you go back to the last slide?
Yes.
I mean, okay. Well, in all this project, like the one for 2.5 million, then the final account after it's being built is 87 million. Can we term that as a success in terms of money-wise? Is it a success or a failure?
This is a big question. So it's really a question of what the remit of the client was, what success is to the stakeholders, right? This is kind of the argument that I'm making, at least. So you're right?
Could be a success on the long run if they are making a profit.
So you are already thinking of finance. So, for example, the Channel Tunnel has just basically drawn even, I think, 2 years ago, and they're making now a profit. Yeah.
So it depends.
So
it could be a success if they make profit out of it.
Yeah, but the client probably didn't think it would take over 15 years. I think it was actually 18 years to make a profit.
So it profits. So
Yeah, but do you have the stamina as a client to run it that long? In this case, it was run, yeah. So this is a question, yeah. You need to as well maybe eat and survive. So do you do it on a credit basis? It comes to the financial model that you're running, but you're facing issues. Yeah. So you're quite right. Sydney Opera House, okay, it was the government that kind of gave the money for this. But the architect himself was in a lot of trouble. He didn't get the next project, although he won the design competition. Yeah, he wouldn't get the project to actually build it, and he was generally depressed. So he kind of disappeared. Yeah, for the project manager, he was the designer and architect, yeah, and then project manager as well. So Thames Barriers, again, this was engineering consultancies. They didn't consider the wider surrounding areas. They had to raise a lot of land from factories that they kind of didn't consider. So there are hidden narratives behind it. And you would probably come to a conclusion that most of the projects in its own project remit, quality, cost, time, absolute disaster, failure, yeah? Because they had predictive indicators given, they had that given up front. They hadn't had a fair chance to actually arrive at expectations that are feasible. That's a dilemma. And similar with Boeing, why is a smaller plane more expensive? Big question here. So there are a lot of hidden elements, yeah. But it's a big point, yeah. So if you discuss it, and this is kind of what I wanted to stress, you come to a question where is the success actually defined? Yeah? Is it an individual definition? Is it your definition? Yeah. And as a project manager, you will be often asked, is this a success? Yeah. And this becomes a tricky question. Then you have as well a team, maybe a company, maybe stakeholders, expectations I have written here, but it's often the requirements that are most pressing. And you may capture as well the desires. If you really want to establish something great, yeah, then have a look at the desires, what people actually aspire to achieve with this. Yeah? Then there's as well a context, yeah? So there's a spatial dimension, norms chosen or put upon one. So sometimes you're as well parachuted into existing requirements or frameworks that you have to deal with. And with that you arrive at different levels. So here's a dimension where success can sit. Managing the team successful. Well, what does it mean? How would we be able to measure that? If we are in a kitchen and we want to figure that out, have you managed the team successful? What is the right question?
The outcome will determine. The outcome will determine the success of the team.
Yeah. What outcome?
Positive outcome.
So, but managing the team successful. So you as a project manager, you have managed the team successful. What does that mean?
People are working together well.
Yeah.
In the right direction. People work in the right direction. If you're able to manage them in the right direction, then that could be a good.
Yeah. So if they have actually, so from a project point, you're already going actually a level higher potentially, but there's interface. Yeah? You're quite right. So everybody has bought into the direction to actually achieve the outcome, as you said. Yeah? worked well together as a team maybe as well? Yeah, other ones?
If the team have been set KPIs and have met all the KPIs, then we can say they're successful, regardless of the project is.
Now, again, you are jumping here potentially to successful management of a project, right? It's actually a tricky one. Yeah? So it's multidimensional. So managing the team successful is probably relationship based, right?
Communication.
Yeah, can be communication. So when you ask us, like, it would be probably, was it a happy project? Yeah, that's my old chestnut. I copy it always in happy project. Yeah? It's quite important actually. It makes a huge difference. Particularly if you're a project manager, you will spend most times on projects. Yeah? If it's every time miserable and you're largely fighting each individual and controlling them, then you have a very determined life. I can tell you that. So this is certainly a way of trying to managing it. So managing the team successful, that you have a happy team. Yeah? And that can mean different things. So that the team members want to work again together, that they may want to work with you again, that they may ask you for a recommendation for their future projects. Yeah? So there are many different formats how you can arrive at that. Successful management of a project, we had that already. So have we achieved the outcome? Yeah, and you had as well the key performance indicators, success criteria depending on the framework, product deliveries are actually alignable to the rest of the deliverables. Yeah. Other one, successful management of a project. We had it as well here.
So it's almost like communication.
Yeah. What?
It's almost like communication.
Yeah, communication can sit again at multiple levels. Yeah, so it's again we have delivered to time, to budget. Yeah, maybe the client is happy with it. Yeah.
What about human resources?
Yeah, this is the question. Does it sit here? If you're good, you have done an assessment. You have looked at your team and at your own skills, capabilities, knowledge, understanding, and evaluated what is needed versus what's there. But this is quite deterministic. So there's a course inside. Yeah? But then you use that to actually plan as well development and training, maybe requirements to have additional workshops to make sure everybody is actually on the right page, right? And this is already good, human resource management, yeah? But often sits with another one, yeah?
So, anyway, I guess a project can be successful even if it's not a very good product you made. For example, if you can convince the customer that this product is good and they will be happy with it,
yeah.
It's also successful management, I think.
Yeah, so there's actually a hidden dimension here as well. A successful management of a project, maybe you haven't managed the team successful, or when you're handing over, actually I had such a house, so I'm living now in Tynemouth. I moved in and they said like, oh, we did all the windows new, and I shouldn't have done it. I had a look how they actually fitted the windows. I shouldn't have looked. That is what so they had managed the project successful with the previous owner, but kind of the windows, it's like basically I may as well have no windows. In the winter the curtains fly and the windows are closed, so I had to refit it basically and work on it. So managing a project successful means as well when the closeout and handover is whatever is recognized, it's either successful or a failure. If they don't recognize it at the time, goodbye, that's it. Yeah, many contracts are written that way, by the way. Yeah, in Europe it's a little bit more tricky depending what trade you are in. Yeah, so in the UK we have maybe product liability, but it's often limited and outsourced, and we often pull in insurance against it up front. So there are a lot of all I'm saying is often this is where it ends. Yeah. Now, and we haven't even talked about achieving greater benefits with the project for business or supply chain. Yeah.
So Robert, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you spend more than the budget, negotiated with the stakeholder, you spend more than the budget, yeah, and you attain a positive outcome of the project.
Yeah.
Would the stakeholder count that as a success?
Now, if you do that, normally they do. Yeah. So the quick answer is, the budget is of course arbitrary if you have a dialogue with the stakeholders or your client, right? So if your client feels, okay, we go here for the, we go for the better door and the better window, yeah, so that my curtains don't fly in my house, yeah, and I'm happy to this, then of course I'm happy to spend more money, right? I know that I have a sealed house where in the winter I don't have to run around with a scarf or something like that. Yeah? So and respectively it's as well with the contracts, right? So if you come to that dialogue, then you will see the clients even stick with you. Then you build as well a legacy. We haven't even started talking about that, yeah. And then you have a legacy potentially, yeah. So they may want to have you in their supply chain. They say like, hey, you know what? You're pre-qualified. Have a look if you can meet the other criteria, and then other competitors of yours have to first compete with a preset criteria. Yeah? So that is of course the hidden dimension of success. Yeah? Now when we come to achieving greater benefits with a project, business or supply chain, where does the success lie here? What benefits am I talking about? Is that for you as a project manager? Are you coming from another organization? Are you in a project-based organization that specializes on project management? And your team are all other company members in different companies? Whose benefits are we talking about?
Is it like the people that supplies things that is used in the project? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, yes. So potentially, it is all of the above. Yeah. So you have now looked at supply chain. So people that bring maybe resources to the site, yeah, may do the work. If you have outsourced this, yeah, you don't do it yourself. It's a different way of doing it, right? Then, if you ask somebody else to do it, they may see a value working with you if you can show that you will work with a similar system again. So they're again in the game and can work with you again, and they can align their production to your kind of preset criteria. Yeah? We don't always do that in projects. If you can refine a package like that, then you can as well perform with more accuracy, with less risk. Yeah? So it's a wonderful thing to do. Now the benefits itself is just a recognition that what our project delivers afterwards is beneficial. That's it. This can go in the business direction, this can go in the supply chain, this can be the client, that can be the product user or the service user. Yeah? Or it can mean that your service is no longer required. And this is, when we come to cases like that, this is a very interesting one. Now then we have as well achieving long-term strategic advantages projects. We have a look at that as well. And the last dimension is creating prosperity and visionary legacy with a project. That is a lot what the Olympics try to do. Now, actually there are a lot of people in Northumberland now cycling on road bikes. I'm generally impressed with that. But I'm not sure that it had the legacy, visionary legacy that it tried to achieve.
It's now stated that sports participation in Britain has actually gone down since the Olympics because they wanted. So they failed on the legacy.
Yeah, there were a few reports, and it was particularly painful because they buddied up with universities to measure it. And of course the universities are very happy to report whatever they find, so they normally have not the greatest bias as some commercial sensitive partners may have. Yeah. So okay, we stop at that point. Next week we restart with the same slide and think more about what stakeholders actually mean to us in terms of success. Yeah? That is the starting point for next week as well. Any questions at that point? Okay. Then we take it forward in the seminars. I see you all later in the seminars. Some of you I see for sustainability, yeah. And otherwise, have a lovely rest day, and I see you all today or tomorrow. Thank you.